Chapter 1. I still remember the exact day I realized that English wasn't just something I needed to pass in school. It was a key to understanding the world. I was 19, sitting in my room in a small town, trying to read an English textbook that felt more like a wall than a door. The grammar rules were endless, the vocabulary lists were dry, and the exercises had no connection to real life. I knew I had to improve my English, but I didn't know how. I wanted to speak fluently, to understand native speakers and maybe even make international friends. But where could I start? That evening, while scrolling on my phone, I saw a short video titled 5 Common Mistakes English Learners Make. It had subtitles, a smiling teacher, and it was only 5 minutes long. The channel was called English with Lucy. Out of curiosity, I tapped play. Within seconds, I was hooked. The teacher spoke clearly and naturally. She wasn't reading from a book. She was explaining things like a friend. She used real-life examples and simple drawings. And most importantly, she made me feel like learning English could actually be interesting. After that video, I watched another and then another. I didn't even realize that an hour had passed. For the first time, I felt like English wasn't something separate from me. It was something I could touch, hear, and use. That night, I made a decision. I would use YouTube as my main English teacher. The next morning, I opened YouTube with a different mindset. Instead of watching random music videos or comedy skits, I typed, "How to speak English fluently." The search results were overwhelming. So many channels, so many accents, and so many methods. I realized I had to be smart and selective. I made a list of goals. Understand native speakers, improve pronunciation, learn useful vocabulary, practice listening every day. With these goals, I started building a playlist. I subscribed to channels like Speak English with Vanessa, BBC Learning English, Rachel's English, and VOA Learning English. Each one had its own style. Vanessa focused on friendly conversations and real-life expressions. Rachel taught pronunciation in detail. The BBC offered short news stories and dramas. VOA used slower English, which helped me catch every word. To avoid feeling lost, I created a simple routine. Every day, I would 1. Watch one 10-minute video from a teaching channel. 2. Watch one short documentary or vlog with English subtitles. 3. Write down 5 new words or phrases. 4. Speak out loud for 5 minutes about what I learned. This became my daily habit. I didn't just watch, I interacted. I paused the videos to repeat sentences. I mimicked intonation. I looked up difficult words and wrote example sentences. I even recorded myself speaking and compared my pronunciation with the teacher's. Slowly, I started noticing progress. One of the first breakthroughs came after a few weeks. I was watching a vlog by a Canadian YouTuber who was walking through a market and talking about different foods. I didn't need subtitles anymore. I could understand at least 70% of what she said. It was a small victory, but it felt huge. For the first time, I felt like I was in the conversation, not just observing from the outside. But it wasn't always easy. There were days when I felt stuck. Some videos had fast speech or slang I didn't know. Sometimes I repeated a sentence 10 times and still couldn't get the pronunciation right. There were moments when I questioned myself. Am I really improving? Is this method enough? But deep down, I knew the answer. I had already come so far just by watching, listening, and practicing consistently. I reminded myself that fluency is a journey, not a destination. To keep myself motivated, I started keeping a YouTube English journal. In it, I wrote, the title of the video I watched, 3 useful expressions or words, 1 sentence I liked or found interesting, a short reflection on what I learned. This journal became a mirror of my growth. When I felt tired or discouraged, I flipped back to earlier pages and saw how far I had come. From, I don't understand anything, to, I can summarize this video in English, it was proof that my efforts were working. I also discovered interactive videos that asked questions or paused to let the viewer answer. One of my favorite teachers, Mr. Duncan from Speak English with Mr. Duncan, always ended his videos with a question. He would say something like, "What do you think about this topic?" Leave your answer in the comments. I started writing my thoughts in English. It was scary at first. I worried about grammar mistakes. But to my surprise, people replied with encouragement. Some even corrected me politely. It felt like being part of a global classroom. Another big step was switching from subtitles in my language to English subtitles. At first, this was challenging, but after a few weeks, I noticed something interesting. I wasn't reading every word anymore. My brain was starting to connect the sounds to meaning naturally. I was thinking in English, not translating in my head. Then came the moment that changed everything. One night, I was watching a video from the channel English Addict. The teacher was talking about how English is not just a language, it's a way to connect with people, to share ideas, to grow. He said something that stuck with me. Don't be afraid of your mistakes. Be afraid of staying silent. That sentence hit me hard. I had always been afraid to speak English in front of others because I didn't want to sound stupid. But now I realized that mistakes were part of learning. Staying silent was the real enemy. After that, I began speaking to myself in English. Every morning I looked in the mirror and said, "Good morning. Today I will," and described my plans in English. I talked about my feelings, the weather, or what I had for breakfast. It felt strange at first, but it worked. Speaking out loud became easier. Words came more naturally. Sometimes I recorded these mini monologues and compared them to how native speakers talk in YouTube videos. I noticed where I needed to improve. Maybe my sentence was too long, or I was missing an article. These small corrections helped me polish my speaking. Soon, YouTube was not just a source of learning. It became a habit, a passion, a lifestyle. I looked forward to watching new content, not because I had to, but because I genuinely enjoyed it. I subscribed to English-speaking travel vloggers, comedians, teachers, and tech reviewers. My playlist was diverse. It wasn't just study time. It was entertainment, all in English. One day, I was watching a video about how to give presentations in English. The speaker was confident, clear, and inspiring. Suddenly, I thought, maybe I can do this too. That's when I got the idea to make my own English-speaking video. It was a small introduction. Hi, my name is Rayan. I'm learning English, and today I want to tell you about my routine. I filmed it with my phone, edited it, and uploaded it to a Facebook group for English learners. I was nervous, but the responses were kind. Nice job. Your pronunciation is great. Keep it up. I felt proud. For the first time, I was not just learning English, I was using it. That moment made me realize something important. Learning English is not about perfection. It's about communication. You don't need to sound like a native speaker. You don't need to know every word. You just need the courage to try, to speak, and to keep going. In the next chapter, I'll share how I built a speaking practice routine using YouTube, how I used real-life dialogues to improve fluency, and how I challenged myself to move from watching to actually speaking. Chapter 2. After weeks of watching English learning videos, I started to feel more comfortable with the language. My vocabulary was growing, my listening skills were sharper, and I could follow most of the lessons without pausing too much. But there was still one big challenge left: speaking. I could understand English better, but when I tried to speak, the words didn't come out easily. I knew I had to do something different. That's when I created my new plan: to use YouTube to practice speaking every single day. I didn't have a speaking partner. I didn't have a teacher sitting with me, but I had YouTube, my notebook, and my phone. That was enough to get started. One of the first methods I tried was shadowing. I had learned about it from a video by English Addict. The teacher explained that shadowing means listening to someone speak and repeating everything they say at the same time or just after them, like an echo. It helps train your mouth and ears to move with the language. I picked short videos, 3 to 5 minutes, from channels like Speak English with Vanessa or BBC Learning English. At first, it was really hard. I couldn't keep up. My voice lagged behind the video. I mispronounced words. But I didn't give up. I paused after every sentence, repeated it 3 or 4 times, and then tried shadowing again. Every day, I spent at least 30 minutes doing this. Slowly, my tongue and brain started to work together. Then I added a new activity, talking to myself. After watching a video, I looked in the mirror and spoke about what I learned. For example, if I watched a video about traveling, I would say, "Today I learned how to ask for directions in English." I now know how to say, "Excuse me, can you tell me where the bank is?" I tried to say it with emotion, using my hands and face. It felt silly, but it helped. To organize my practice, I created a weekly speaking schedule. Monday, shadowing news videos from VOA Learning English. Tuesday, acting out dialogues from BBC Learning English. Wednesday, talking to myself about my daily routine. Thursday, describing YouTube video content out loud. Friday, answering speaking prompts from Speak English with Emma. Each day had a goal. I stuck to this plan for a whole month. It wasn't perfect, but it gave me structure. I even made a chart and checked off each task. It made me feel proud and helped me stay on track. To make my practice more realistic, I started recording my voice. I used a simple voice recorder on my phone. I would speak for 2 minutes about any topic: my favorite food, my last weekend, my future goals. Then I listened to myself. At first, it was strange to hear my own voice in English. I noticed my weak points, missing articles, flat intonation, or mispronounced words. But I didn't feel bad. I felt motivated to improve. I also created a special playlist of conversation style videos. These were short role plays, like ordering coffee, shopping at a store, or greeting someone at a party. I watched each one carefully, then turned off the sound and acted out both roles. For example, role A: Hi, can I help you? Me, as role B: Yes, I'd like a cup of coffee, please. Then I switched roles. I tried to say it naturally with pauses and expressions. This kind of role play helped me feel more confident for real life conversations. One thing I learned from many YouTube teachers was that confidence comes from preparation. So I made a list of common questions and practiced answering them. Questions like, what do you do in your free time? What is your favorite movie? Describe your hometown. I practiced answering each one out loud. Sometimes I even pretended I was being interviewed for a job or a school admission. This made my responses smoother and faster. In the evenings, I watched casual English content, daily vlogs, food reviews, travel channels. I used subtitles to help, but I tried to focus on how people really spoke. I noticed how they used filler words like, you know, actually, or kind of. I paid attention to sentence patterns and slang. Then I tried using those phrases in my speaking practice the next day. At the same time, I kept writing in my English speaking journal. After each video, I wrote a short paragraph. What was the video about? What did I learn? What new words did I find? How did I use those words in a sentence? This helped me connect speaking with writing and reviewing. It also gave me a way to measure my growth. After about a month of daily practice, I noticed a big change. I wasn't just repeating words, I was expressing myself. I could talk for 2 or 3 minutes without stopping. My grammar wasn't perfect, but I didn't freeze or panic. I even started thinking in English during my day. I wanted to take things to the next level. So I started commenting on YouTube videos in English. I left short comments about what I learned or how I felt. Sometimes teachers or other learners replied. It made me feel seen. I was no longer just watching silently. I was part of the conversation. One day, I left a comment on a video from English Class 101. The video was about describing emotions. I wrote, "This video really helped me understand the difference between annoyed and frustrated. Thank you." The teacher replied, "Great job, Rayan. Keep practicing." That small message made my day. It gave me more motivation to keep going. I also started watching YouTube videos about topics I loved: travel, productivity, and food. I watched them in English, paused often, and repeated key phrases. Then I tried talking about the same topics in my own words. For example, after watching a food review, I said, "Today I watched a video about street food in Thailand. The speaker described the taste as savory and spicy. I want to try that food someday." This made learning personal. It wasn't just about textbooks or exams. It was about connecting English to my real life. By the end of the second month, I had created my own system. 1. Watch a short English video 2 to 5 minutes. 2. Take notes on key phrases. 3. Practice shadowing the speaker. 4. Speak aloud about the topic. 5. Record and review my voice. 6. Write a short journal entry. 7. Comment on the video in English. This 7-step method became my speaking routine. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. YouTube was now my classroom, my partner, and my mirror. In the next chapter, I'll share how I moved from practicing alone to speaking in real situations, and how I used YouTube to prepare for real conversations, interviews, and even public speaking. Chapter 3. After months of learning from YouTube, watching lessons, repeating sentences, writing vocabulary notes, I realized I wasn't just learning English anymore. I was living it. English was no longer a subject in a textbook or something I practiced in secret. It became a part of my daily life, my way of thinking, and slowly, my way of expressing myself to others. One morning, I sat at my desk, looked at my notebook full of English words, and asked myself, what's next? I had built a strong foundation. I could understand YouTube videos without subtitles, write comments confidently, and speak about different topics. But something still felt missing. I wanted to connect. I wanted to give back. I had learned so much and now I wanted to share. That was when I got the idea to start my own YouTube channel. It was a big step. I wasn't a teacher, I wasn't a native speaker. I had no experience in making videos, but I had my story, I had my journey, and I believed that maybe, just maybe, it could help someone else who was afraid to start. The first video I made was very simple. I recorded myself talking about how I started learning English. I used the techniques I had learned: clear pronunciation, natural intonation, and simple vocabulary. I smiled at the camera and imagined I was talking to a friend. My heart was beating fast as I pressed upload. I didn't expect anyone to watch it, but the next day I saw my video had 34 views. Then it became 102. I got a comment that said, "Thank you, your story is like mine. Now I feel I can also learn." I almost cried. It was the most beautiful feeling I had ever had. So I made another video. And another. I talked about my favorite YouTube channels, my English learning routine, the apps I used, and the mistakes I made. I even created playlists for different levels: beginner, intermediate, advanced, just like the videos I used to watch. My channel was not perfect, but it was real. It was my voice, my story, and my English. Over time, my subscribers grew. Not millions, but enough to make me feel seen. I got messages from Brazil, India, Nigeria, and Indonesia. People said, "I'm learning like you. You give me hope." I realized that English is not just a language, it's a bridge. It connects people, ideas, and dreams. One of the best moments was when a teacher from a small village school in Pakistan messaged me. She said her students were watching my videos during their English period. She sent me a photo of a classroom with children smiling at the screen, watching me. I couldn't believe it. Me, a student who once struggled to say hello properly, was now teaching others. My confidence grew even more. I started doing live sessions where I answered questions from other learners. I made videos about difficult grammar rules like conditionals and passive voice, using the examples I had collected from YouTube. I even started reacting to English movie scenes and explaining the phrases they used, something I had learned from the channels I used to watch. And I kept learning. I never stopped watching YouTube myself. I still listened to podcasts, watched interviews, and explored new channels. But now I wasn't just a learner. I had become a learner and a guide. Looking back, I see a full circle. YouTube was my first teacher, then it became my classroom, and now it is my stage. If you're reading this and wondering if YouTube can help you learn English, yes, it can. But don't just watch. Practice. Repeat. Speak aloud. Write your thoughts. And when you're ready, share your voice. there is someone out there who needs to hear your journey. Today, when I upload a new video and press publish, I no longer feel afraid. I feel proud because my English is not perfect, but it's powerful. It carries my story, and that's more than enough.